Who are the travelers from Genshin Impact? This might seem like a stupid question, but actually there's a lot more into it that sadly most players ignore, and that's why I decided to dedicate this video to the Genshin Impact siblings Aether and Lumine. I want to mention something first. If I do switch from saying Traveler to Aether, just be aware that I do that unconsciously since I play as Aether and main him. So I wanted to lay that down to avoid any kind of confusion. Starting off, who are the siblings anyways? The twins traveled across the universe until they got stuck in Tibet. The unknown god blocked their paths. Whoever sibling you choose becomes the traveler, while the other gets captured and later on found to be the Abyss Prince or Princess. Which gets me to my point. The twins are both relevant for the story, and one is not the opposite gender of the other. I'll be elaborating on that later on in the video. So the most misunderstood thing in this game is that the traveler is just a self-insert character for the player, which is completely wrong in the case of Genshin Impact. And I'll be trying to make this fact understood for people who still think otherwise. Starting with the most simplest thing ever, their names. Each of the twins have a name, Lumine and Aether. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the game Final Fantasy VII or just heard of it. If not, then it's a game where the player most of the time plays in the MC's POV, Cloudstrife, who has his own life, personality, and voice. Well, it's literally the same in Genshin Impact. Aether and Lumine are people with their own personalities in life, not to mention minds to think with and make their own decisions. Yes, you heard that right. Their own decisions. The game itself only gives you the illusion of making a certain choice. As you can see, most of these dialogues that you can quote-unquote choose from are not even different, and some are just one sentence split in two parts. So it would give the player the impression of contributing to the story, when in reality, everything is scripted because it's all Traveler's thoughts and feelings. Which leads me to my other point. Traveler voice lines. Can you guys believe that there is actually people out there that had no idea these voice lines even existed? Which is proof of how people do not pay attention to the Traveler at all. These voice lines in question show how Traveler has different opinions and thoughts about anything they go through and even people they cross paths with. Not to mention that they're all voiced by their respective voice actors. So no, the Traveler is not your self-insert, for you can think of something in a way while they might not agree with it at all. Now remember how I said before that Lumine and Aether being siblings is relevant to the plot? Well, since we're talking about voice lines, let me point something for you. While you can play the Traveler as Lumine or Aether, they are not the same person. For each one of them has different personalities, and it could be shown in their voice lines, their kits, their combat style, as well as their facial expressions and gestures and manners of speech. For instance, Aether prefers pyro slimes while Lumine prefers cryo ones. Aether is faster in mobility and plays more on defense while his sister is on the offensive. They also have different responses and voice lines to the same thing, as well as other characters also have, no matter the sibling you choose. For example, Ningguang's birthday voice line, or Jet's interaction with the Traveler from the Sumeru World Quest. And these are just a tiny portion of their differences, to showcase how they are not the same person, just opposite gender. Now I want to talk about something that was my first reason for making this video, which is Traveler's reaction to some events that we get to see as the player. More precisely, the Lyney and Lynette situation. If you have played the Fontaine Archon Quest Act 1 and 2, then you've definitely witnessed Traveler's reaction to Lyney and Lynette's hiding their identity as Fatui. Now most people found that to be ridiculous and were mad that Traveler felt that way. Now let me put light into something. The majority of the fandom do not realize that we as players do not see situations the same way Traveler does. We do not get to fully experience the world from their eyes, or should I say, they do not get to experience it the way we do. While we as players get to have drip marketings, the knowledge of characters being playable, more in-depth character stories about their lives, trailers and character teasers, and so on, they get to see none of that. Well, we've at least known Lyney and Lynette since the Travail trailer and knew about multiple info from the artifact set, descriptions, and so on. Traveler only have met them the day they set foot in Fontaine and knew them for just 2 days as those magicians and nothing more. In their eyes, those are people he just met and even trusted them and became their attorney to defend them. But what he received in return is betrayal, not only for hiding their Fatui identities, knowing fully well how Traveler have clashed with them multiple times. And yes, I said not only that, because people seem to only focus on that point. But Linny also lied in his testimony, so how would Ether be able to fully defend him in a court trial? Now, going back to the Fatui point, I've seen people misunderstand a lot how Traveler is chill and friendly with Child, but decided to be mad all of a sudden at the siblings. First of all, Traveler is still wary of Child. People tend to forget that they've known him for a long time now. Child never hid his intentions and straight up said not to trust him, and that he's a Fatui harbinger. Not to mention how much the Fatui only left bad memories in the eyes of Traveler. Signora stole the Holy Lyre de Hamel and Venti's noses literally in front of them. Child fought them in the Golden House and almost drowned the whole city of Liyue. Signora yet again fought them in a duel before the throne in Inazuma, and they met Scaramouche there, who was ordered by the Jester to look out for the Delusion Factory. Mind you that the Delusions have killed multiple soldiers of Watatsumi Island, yet again in front of Traveler, the Tore being the crazy asshole he was in Sumeru, plus ruining Scaramouche's entire life. And people still dare to say that Traveler's reaction was uncalled for. So it is natural that they would feel betrayed yet again, and would need some time to think things over. And it showed in Linny's story quest that indeed it was the case, for they grew to understand the siblings' perspective more and helped them, even telling Linny that they'll stay by his side and won't leave when the other opened up about his feelings. Another example I have in mind is one of the Dainsleif Archon quests. Traveler clearly expressed how they do not want to trust Dainsleif blindly, but also not a sibling. They want to be the judge of their own actions and thinking. Another thing that came to mind is the Aranara quest. There's a specific scene where we as a player gets to hear and see a certain interaction between two Aranaras. And then just after a while later, Traveler enters the scene, meaning that in their POV, they've heard nothing of what was going on, and only we got to see it, enforcing one more time that Traveler's experience in the story is not ours. Not only that, but sometimes we also get to know that Traveler have experienced, felt, or gone through something that we've never heard of. Therefore, their feelings are valid and not to be judged based on our own feelings. In opinion as a player, obviously someone would be biased by their liking for a certain character and would not be happy to see the Traveler having their own opinion on them. But I digress. Moral of the story, you are not the Traveler and can't enforce your self-insert fantasies on them. I see y'all Delulu shippers. But yeah, this was something I've always been wanting to talk about, because I'm just so tired of this fandom's unreasonable thinking and how completely pushed aside the Traveler is, as well as mischaracterized with other characters. But that's a whole other topic. So no, Traveler is not boring and plain. You just do not bother to read the lore, which is completely okay for someone to not play for the lore and play for the meta or something else. What is not okay, however, is straight up saying stuff that you know nothing about. Heck, we still know nothing about Traveler up to this point. We only know that they're alien entities that came from another world that was destroyed, and they've been traveling the universe for thousands of years with their siblings. So yeah, Traveler is not only 500 years old, because they slept after the Khaenri'ah Cataclysm. They've been traveling way more before that, so yeah. And that the Traveler, in my case Ether, is a prince fallen from grace. It's been mentioned now 2 times in World Quest, and he never denied that, so I'm still wondering if they were royalty in their homeland and fallen from grace because it was destroyed and stuff, so yeah, this is basically all we know about them. They're such a mystery that is very interesting to me. Yeah, we still have a lot more to discover. I guess these are my final thoughts, and I hope this video was an eye-opener for some people. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.